I will want to introduce a certain topic that I would like that we explore in inquiry as well. As we have talked before in this group, and as you all have verified to some degree, or if you intuit as being true, is that the type of dynamic and emotional dynamic with our parents in this life, our parents, that contributed to the egg and the sperm, our seeming creators of this body for sure. And so the emotional attitude and the energetic attitudes and the formatting of the relationship with them, with the father and the mother, they are playing out. Of course, they are playing out in future relationships and partners and all of that, but they are playing out as a filter how we perceive, how we have our relationship with God, Source, the Great Spirit, the Father, the Divine Mother, the consciousness, reality, the Maker, Absolute. Yeah, all these names, Brahman. So I have verified this with myself and with many people, that some of this early imprint actually bleeds out on the relationship to Source. And many of us, not all of us, but many of us, there were some type of maybe shock and distrust, shock and hurt, rejection, disillusionment, disappointment, unsafety elements around that, and that bleeds out on our deeply subconscious attitude towards that which is sustaining the body now and keeps the sun, created the sun and all the nature. And yeah, so there's some layer of imprint, and I found it in my case very painful some way to realize how, although I have been dedicated to spirituality, evolution, and God, these kind of pursuits that are connected to mysticism and spirituality and the divine, in spite of doing that, being involved with that seriously for decades, all this was coexisting with a deep subconscious distrust of God and the aftermath of various adaptations to do it all myself, or to translate it, take God out of the picture and call it whatever, awareness, awakening, being conscious. Also, another layer is that our false concepts of God coming from religion, and religion is simply a washed down, distorted, watered down presentation of a teaching from a sage that throughout the millennia it got diluted, distorted, watered down, and bled into the overall ignorance of humanity and became religion, which, although it can have a positive effect, it does have a positive effect, civilizing effect on humanity. So instead of being barbarian, there's a Red Cross. Perhaps it may still be Red Cross here, we don't know. So some charity, some kindness, something like that. So it has usually can have a civilizing effect on humanity, and however, it's very different than the initial teachings of the sage, and may have very little to do with God, the God. We talked some time ago. Gurdjieff was very funny. I mean, also this idea that there's this idea that God created man in God's image, which coincides with this as above, so below, and this whole non-dual different levels of reality, and everything, the reality or God is expressing itself in all. And all of us here, including the politicians, are in a God soup, unaware of it. So there's also this idea that man created God in his own image. So then God appears as a bossy, judgmental, distrustful, jealous God, or punishing, or anyway, there have been a lot of distorted and toxic philosophy associated with God, and as you all know, millions and millions and millions and millions of people suffered and were tortured and burned and killed in the name of God. So this stuff we inherited too, certain programs around God, together with the programs around our mommy and daddy, that create some block for most of us around God. So I would like that which actually I felt I have verified that all of this fourth way stuff, although they don't talk about, what's interesting is that I really resonate with the fourth way, and Gurdjieff, he came to the West in a time when he felt like the religion was so twisted and so mechanical that he didn't want to associate himself with the word God because it was so full of distortion. And this idea of this old man with a beard somewhere else, So they didn't mention the fourth way the word God ever, and made it all like the ray of creation, conscious influence, the absolute, and then we're not focusing on this kind of religious, mystical stuff, and it was like very practical study and using with awareness. So I can see that was very good for me, because I wouldn't have accepted some kind of religious, mystical approach. It's very good. However, I can see that it's safe. It was safe. And I can see now that at some point, there comes to some time when we can't keep going into awakening and having some weird shit programs around God, because this awakening is actually God realization. So this is the little introduction here, and I would like, just as we've done in the past, using probes, reverse inquiry, or various things to investigate about our patterns and beliefs and stuff, I would like that we investigate our imprints around this so-called God in an aim to kill it, to kill the false God, which doesn't exist. It's just a blockage towards the real God. I intentionally use the word God because that can trigger a lot of you. If I were to say reality or consciousness, it'd be like, oh, okay, I can swing with that, I can go with that. All right. So let's go back into just the only thing we need to do is to observe these things. Whatever will come up due to my prompts is to observe them, not fight them, not do anything. The killing of this false god is a little bit like with the vampires and the light. It's just needs to be seen. So if you just came to this video, I suggest you pause it and take some time to just drop into being present and quiet your mind. And then come back to it. So I would like that we all bring this, even the word in the mind's eye, the word God or Lord, the Father, God Almighty. Just have this word in your mind's eye and welcome any memories, images around this. From the very beginning of your life. Wherever you found out about God, whoever taught you or what they taught you, welcome here in this aware space. Yeah, what were some of the messages that you received, you were told maybe, directly or indirectly, by parents, by nuns, by somewhere? What kind of character is this Mr. God? And what about me and Mr. God? How I need to be or do, or just welcome any memories, words, as well as bodily reactions. You might have a mixed bag, or you may have a really unpleasant taste, or you may have some beautiful memory. So welcome in your mind's eye, and maybe some time perhaps, where as a young person perhaps you were really open to it and really into it. Like, yeah, yes, I'm in. Welcome some innocent openness perhaps before anything happened. And welcome any reactions in the body, sensations. Yeah, notice how we are dealing. What is this God we are dealing here with? It's some kind of memory and some beliefs based on what somebody who was very likely asleep and ignorant told us. What is this God made of? It's kind of the same cocktail of like our ego. Thoughts, feelings, sensation, memories. And welcome maybe some time when you were in a tight spot, or you thought to use this Mr. God to help you out because it was really unpleasant what was happening. You were afraid, or there was a lot of pain, and you maybe prayed or as an innocent asked for some help. And it may or may not have happened as the little you wanted. Welcome any memory and image of that and any feeling. The first crack. Something didn't go well, maybe. What was welcome images, memories, feelings about that. And also notice how they are just content appearing in this presence, this mysterious being. And based on that experience, maybe some disillusionment, some disappointment, some unanswered plea. How did it impact you? Where did it land in you? What was the message you made? The conclusion you drew from that? Realize you've been lied to, tricked, or just didn't go. You didn't get the help. What was the message? Or somebody died. What was the message that little you got about you or God? Or maybe as you were older and you got exposed to science or to other things, and you realize, whoa, wait a minute here. Welcome any images, memories, feelings. Yeah, so tuning into just this I am. You can even inwardly say it 3 times. Clear the space. I am. That's for sure. We are and we perceive. That's a fact. Just being. And I'm going to throw some reverse inquiry or probes. It's just a statement. You don't need to believe it. And I recommend you repeat it to yourself. You repeat it 2 or 3 times, but not to believe it, but just to see what may come up. And then whatever comes up, just totally open to whatever comes and witnessing it. So, I trust God completely. I trust Source, God, completely. I trust God completely. Whatever comes is okay. Witness, allow. And if there's any feeling, or just welcome any feeling. It's totally safe to fully trust God. It's safe. It's totally safe to fully trust God. If it's just a small reaction in the body somewhere, just stay with it and see what it says. Take your time. If it's a big reaction, just witnessing the words. It's safe to fully trust Source. And tuning also into this sense of aware openness, which bubbles these reactions. And if you have some strong reaction here and strong no something, some of you may have that. What is the utility of having that reaction? What's the seeming advantage? Whatever it is, to not be hurt again, to not whatever it is. What's the utility of that no? And also take a moment to open your attention, tune back to this aware presence as this aware screen. The next inquiry is, I love Source. I love God. I allow myself to love God fully. You can throw it a few times, you know. The system may be like shocked or something like, what? I love Source. And whatever that is, just let it be. Yeah, so in this space, tuning back to being, and acknowledge, realize, remember that we are being breathed. You are not doing it. We are not in charge of it. Something else is in charge of this body breathing. Just realize that. We were not in charge of growing this body. And remember, realize, be open to this, that whatever is responsible for breathing this body is responsible for breathing all bodies, all species, responsible for creating the trees to have this nourishing exchange, and making sure the sun is there, the oceans, all of these things are just all provided. Even with whatever science we know about just this body, how complex this anatomy and the millions of processes and the capacity that it heals itself. And the seasons. And then in this human being, there's this capacity to create beauty and capacity to care for others. Love, there's love. You felt loved in your life by somebody, and you love. And bring to mind any experiences that are different somehow, all the other stuff, some where you felt like you touched some crack into the unknown, the mystery. A beautiful landscape, or in a journey, or out of the blue, you touched some transcendental, mysterious, loving, infinite dimension. Or some teacher or teaching or master or grandma, they had this love, you felt the purity of their love. No agenda. They were a messenger of God's wisdom or God's love. Who are those people? Let them be here now. Maybe some teaching, some book, you may would have not even met the teacher, but somehow it just changed your life, helped you live better, and that is God coming to us in this form to help us wake up from our illusions and get closer. Or you're really suffering in some way, in drugs or in misery, and something happened. You were scooped out and brought to another track. So we can throw another inquiry and see what happens. I am in the source, and the source is in me. I am in God, and God is in me. And also seeing how our spirituality, our psychological work in consciousness pursuits and meditation, that's a drawer. And then there's the source, the creator, the maker, the one that is running the show. How do they correlate with you, these two things? Do they meet, or they are a little separate? And can we allow ourselves that they meet more? This coming out of daydreaming and being present to our reactivity and being more honest and being present and letting it merge with the one called Jesus and the one called Ramana. And the real kind, loving, warm-hearted old lady or old man. Or dog, your dog just comes at you and loves you all the time. See them all merge. And I am. Throwing these words in, knowing that these words are not it, but they point to these old sages of the oldest tradition, the Indian Tantric Upanishad. The whole thing was to realize Atman, realize that we are the presence, the self, not the thoughts, not the feelings, not the sensations. Realize this presence as I. That's called Atman. And then they would say, and Atman is Brahman. Brahman is being God, the Absolute. So this presence is not your presence. This body is not your body. Our bodies belong to God. which is no different than this presence. And these teachers, the good ones, and the fully liberated ones, they have cleaned up, woken up, cleaned up, grew up to such extent they washed away this illusion of separation. And they verified the experience what I just said. This is just the divine here. There's nothing which is not the divine. And they are that. They try and help us. So these teachers, and we are exactly like them. It's just that we didn't wake up enough and didn't clean up enough, didn't grow up enough. So we are the same God, self, being confused and contracted and thus suffering. Yeah, so may this help us to be more and more free from this imagined God, and may this bring us closer to have openness to be revealed the true goodies, the sweets. Also, although we are on this fourth way, non-dual path, direct path, jnani path, a little prayer, it doesn't hurt. A little prayer, a little gratitude, not as a new age gratitude in order to get more shit. But actually, the more we are more awake and conscious of what's happening and more intuiting or sensing the divine, the more the gratitude. It's a higher emotion. It's a natural. We don't want anything. It's just wow, thank you. We can also pray for, hey, this is really confusing, this God thing, man. I really like to be more open, but I'm so fucking closed. So God, if you exist, please help me. I think Saint Thomas said something like, I forgot, but it was something very good. Help me to diminish my disbelief. Help me with my disbelief. Yeah. And we don't want belief. We don't want belief. Yeah. We want to know, to be revealed, to feel. We don't want some belief.